This is the Sleep Historian. Each night we explore the echoes of the past, stories told slowly to calm the mind and ease you towards sleep. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through time, please like and subscribe, and let the next story begin. Before anything else, there is silence. A wide plain under a pale dawn sky. Cool air moving gently across open grass. The land feels ancient, older than memory, older than names. In the distance, dark shapes rise from the horizon. Tall, still, and patient, stone against sky. Nothing stirs except a faint breeze carrying the scent of damp earth. You stand at the edge of Salisbury Plain, watching light gather slowly along the landscape. The stones remain unmoving, like sentinels left by a world long gone. This quiet moment invites you to drift backward toward a time when knowledge lived in shadows and mystery shaped belief. The light strengthens, revealing the rough surfaces of towering monoliths arranged in a circle. Each stone holds marks of weather, moss, and age beyond reckoning. Birds call softly in the distance, their voices thin in the open air. The ground beneath your feet feels firm, as though layered with centuries of footsteps. Stonehenge stands here not as a ruin, but as a question. Why these stones? Why this place? Why such effort from people who left no written explanation? As morning settles over the plain, the mystery deepens, inviting us to step back thousands of years and follow the quiet trail of its creation. Time drifts backward to around 3000 BCE. The plain looks different now, wild, untouched. Its grasses taller and its forests thicker along the edges. Small groups of people move across the land, carrying antler picks and wooden tools. Their clothing is simple, made from hides and woven fibers. Smoke rises from scattered settlements, where roundhouses stand close to one another in modest clusters. Life here is quiet and deliberate, shaped by seasons and the slow rhythm of survival. You watch a single figure pause beside a ridge of earth, pressing a hand into the soil as if sensing something deeper beneath the surface. On this landscape, the first stage of Stonehenge begins, not with towering stones, but with earth. Workers carve a circular ditch using antler tools, breaking soil that has remained undisturbed for millennia. The air smells of fresh earth and damp grass. Men and women carry baskets filled with chalk, their footsteps leaving faint marks along the bank. Wooden posts are placed in the center, marking boundaries and directions. A child watches quietly, tracing a line in the dust with a fingertip. No one speaks of monuments or legacy. They simply follow a shared purpose that feels important, though its meaning remains unspoken. The structure grows slowly. A ring of timber rises, forming a circle that seems to hold significance for the community. At dusk, the posts cast long shadows that converge toward the center, as though pointing to a place of gathering. People stand in small groups, exchanging hushed words while the wind rustles through nearby grasses. A single torch flickers near the entrance, its flame reflected in watchful eyes. The air is cool, and a faint mist begins to form along the ground. This early circle is not the Stonehenge we know, but its footprint holds the first traces of intention and ritual. Years pass, marked by cycles of harvest and winter. The wooden posts weather, lean, and eventually decay. In their place, something new is imagined. stone. From the Preseli Hills in Wales, nearly 150 miles away, small bluestones are chosen. Their surfaces carry specks of mica that glimmer faintly in the sun. Transporting them is slow, requiring rafts along rivers and wooden rollers across land. You picture a single worker adjusting a rope around a stone, tightening it with careful hands. The journey is long, but each mile reflects belief in a purpose strong enough to move mountains, literally and quietly, one step at a time. When the bluestones finally reach the plain, they are arranged in arcs that curve gently toward the horizon. The stones are smaller than the later sarsens, but their placement feels deliberate. Evening light casts soft blue shadows along their edges, creating a calm, dreamlike atmosphere. People gather around the circle, some touching the stone's cool surfaces, others kneeling in quiet reflection. A single bird lands atop one stone, its claws gripping the rough texture. The scene feels intimate, less a monument, more a gathering place where meaning is shared in gestures and silence rather than speech. As generations pass, knowledge transfers through observation and memory. No carved inscriptions mark these events, only stories whispered beside fires and taught through repetition. The plain shifts with time, its grasses trimmed by grazing animals, and its pathways marked by countless feet. A sense of importance grows around the bluestone circle. Some believe it holds healing properties. Others see it as a boundary between worlds, the living and the ancestral. You imagine a healer placing a hand on a patient's shoulder, guiding them slowly toward the stones, hoping the site's energy might ease their pain in ways words cannot explain. Around 2500 BCE, a new vision emerges, one that will redefine the site entirely. Massive sarsen stones, some weighing over 25 tons, are quarried from the Marlborough Downs to the north. Their surfaces are pale and dense, marked with natural blemishes. Teams of workers haul the stones across the landscape using sledges and ropes, leaving long grooves in the earth. The effort requires cooperation on a scale rarely seen in prehistoric Britain. A leader lifts a hand to signal rest, wiping sweat from a brow dusted with chalk. The stones loom like silent giants, waiting to take their place in history. The sarsens are shaped using hammer stones, each strike sending a dull echo across the plain. Mortise and tenon joints are carved into their surfaces, allowing the stones to fit together like enormous puzzle pieces. Workers climb wooden scaffolding, tying ropes around lintels in preparation for lifting. A soft wind brushes through the scene, carrying the faint scent of distant fires. As the first upright is raised, the crowd watches in stillness, breath held. When the stone settles into its pit, the ground trembles slightly. A quiet murmur spreads among the people, a shared recognition that something monumental has begun. With the uprights in place, the lintels follow. Wooden frames support the heavy stones, guiding them upward inch by inch. The sky is overcast, and a light drizzle darkens the stone surfaces, making them glisten. Workers steady ropes with gloved hands, their movements slow and synchronized. When the first lintel rests atop two sarsens, forming a trilithon, the structure takes on a new dimension, an archway into the unknown. Children peer through the opening, marveling at the sudden change in perspective. The circle begins to look less like scattered stones and more like a carefully designed gateway into the past or future. As more trilithons rise, the circle becomes enclosed, defined by vertical lines and curved geometry. The stones cast long, straight shadows that move subtly with the sun. A hush seems to settle over the plain, as if acknowledging the significance of this transformation. People step inside the circle, their feet leaving light impressions on the chalky ground. A woman traces her fingers along a stone surface, feeling grooves left by ancient tools. The air within the circle feels slightly cooler, sheltered from the wind. This space, though open to the sky, carries a sense of interior calm and quiet focus. Once the outer ring is complete, the inner horseshoe of larger trilithons begins to take shape. These stones tower even higher, arranged to frame a central axis aligned with the midsummer sunrise. On the day of the solstice, the first light will travel through the entrance and illuminate the heart of the monument. Workers discuss the alignment in simple terms, pointing toward the horizon where the sun will rise. A small group observes a sunrise rehearsal, watching how the light creeps across the plain. One man adjusts a stake in the ground, marking a position with gentle precision. Outside the stone circle, avenues begin to appear, long pathways that connect Stonehenge to the river Avon. The ground is flattened and cleared, creating a corridor that stretches for miles. These causeways may guide processions or mark ceremonial journeys. You imagine people walking the route at dusk, torches in hand, the flames flickering in the gentle breeze. Footsteps crunch softly on the chalky soil. At the river's edge, reflections shimmer in the water, mirroring the distant stones. This connection between monument and river suggests a journey, perhaps symbolic, perhaps practical, linking life, death, and the flow of time. The nearby landscape becomes dotted with barrows, burial mounds rising gently from the earth. Inside some of these mounds lie cremated remains, carefully placed with small personal items. The association between Stonehenge and burial practices deepens, marking the site as a place of remembrance and passage. In a quiet moment, a family stands near a newly formed mound, heads bowed. A parent holds a polished stone, its surface reflecting the daylight, before placing it gently beside the burial. The wind moves softly across the mound's surface, shaping the grass in slow, rippling patterns. As Stonehenge reaches its most iconic form, the community's daily life continues in simple patterns. People gather around fires to share meals, grinding grain and preparing stews in clay pots. Children chase each other across open fields, their laughter carried by the breeze. Tools are sharpened, hides are tanned, and stories are told under star-filled skies. Though the monument dominates the plain, it is woven into ordinary existence. A woman adjusts a woven cloak around her shoulders as she glances toward the stones, perhaps feeling a quiet pride in the collective effort that shaped the landscape. Over time, the meaning of Stonehenge evolves. Some view it as a ceremonial space tied to the sun and the seasons. Others see it as a place of healing, where stones possess special properties. Travelers arrive from distant regions, drawn by tales of the circle's power. You imagine a weary visitor resting a hand on a stone's cool surface, closing their eyes in hope or reverence. The monument becomes a gathering point where different communities meet, exchange goods, and share knowledge. It stands as a silent witness to these interactions, its stones absorbing the passage of countless lives. As night falls, Stonehenge takes on a different character. The moon rises above the plain, casting a silvery glow on the stones. Shadows deepen between the trilithons, creating narrow passages of darkness. A small group lights a fire near the entrance, its glow reflecting softly on their faces. They speak in low voices, perhaps reciting traditions or honoring ancestors. The fire's warmth contrasts with the cool night air, and sparks drift upward into the darkness. The stones stand unmoved, their presence steady and unchanging, even as the world around them shifts with time and ritual. Centuries pass, and Stonehenge remains a focal point for gatherings. Seasonal rituals mark solstices and equinoxes, guiding agricultural cycles. People stand along the avenue at dawn, watching the first rays of sunlight align with the monument's central axis. The atmosphere is calm, filled with quiet anticipation. A young observer adjusts a fur-lined cloak as the wind brushes against bare hands. When the sun finally breaks the horizon, its light travels through the entrance, illuminating the inner circle. For a moment, the monument feels alive, responding to the cosmos with a precision that reflects deep understanding of the natural world. As communities grow, new structures emerge around the plain. Timber circles, known as Woodhenge and Durrington walls, rise nearby. These settlements suggest a thriving population engaged in shared rituals and communal feasting. The scent of roasted meat fills the air during gatherings, and pottery fragments litter the ground near fire pits. Workers carve wooden posts with stone tools, creating patterns that echo the form of Stonehenge. The landscape becomes a network of interconnected sites, each contributing to a larger cultural and spiritual system. People move between them, carrying stories, goods, and traditions that strengthen communal bonds. Inside Durrington walls, longhouses provide shelter for workers and visitors. Straw-covered roofs rustle in the wind, and smoke escapes through small openings near the top. Inside, the warmth of a central fire offers comfort against the cold. A man sits on a low stool, sharpening a flint blade with steady hands. Nearby, a woman kneads dough in a clay bowl, her movements rhythmic and unhurried. Children sleep on animal skins, their breath soft and even. Life here is practical but infused with purpose, as the community works together to maintain the structures and rituals that define their identity. During large gatherings, cattle are driven into the settlement from distant regions. Their hooves thud softly against the ground, creating a steady rhythm that echoes across the plain. People prepare for feasting, arranging stones in circles and laying out wooden platters. The smoke of cooking fires rises toward the sky, carrying the aroma of roasting meat. Laughter and conversation fill the air, blending with the wind's gentle whispers. As night falls, torches illuminate the pathways leading toward Stonehenge, creating a sense of movement and anticipation. The monument serves as both destination and symbol, anchoring the community's shared experiences. At dawn after these gatherings, people walk in small groups toward Stonehenge, their footsteps soft on the dew-covered grass. The air is crisp, and a faint mist lingers near the ground. A young man adjusts a leather cord around his wrist, perhaps a token or charm associated with the ritual. When they reach the circle, they stand in silence, watching the sun rise. The alignment of light through the stones reinforces the monument's connection to celestial cycles. This moment, repeated year after year, shapes a calendar of memory that links generations through shared observation. Over time, the blue stones are rearranged within the circle, moved and repositioned to form new configurations. This suggests that Stonehenge was not static but adaptable, reflecting evolving beliefs or functions. Workers use wooden sledges and ropes to shift the stones, their movements deliberate and coordinated. A pause in the work allows one man to brush dust from his hands, leaving faint chalk streaks on his tunic. The reconfiguration adds layers of complexity to the site, making it a living monument that responds to the changing needs and ideas of its community. As the centuries progress, the number of burials near Stonehenge increases. Cremated remains are placed carefully in pits and mounds, often accompanied by small personal items like beads or tools. This pattern reinforces the monument's association with death and remembrance. A family stands near a burial site, their expressions solemn yet calm. The wind tousles a child's hair as they hold a simple wooden token, tracing its grain with a fingertip before placing it gently into the soil. The earth is patted down with quiet care, sealing another story into the landscape. By around 2000 BCE, the monument reaches its final major form. The trilithons stand tall, the outer circle is complete, and the blue stones are arranged in a refined horseshoe. The plain feels transformed, no longer just a landscape, but a carefully shaped ceremonial center. The stones catch the evening light, their surfaces glowing softly in golden hues. A herdsman pauses with his flock nearby, watching the monument with a mixture of familiarity and respect. Though its original purpose remains elusive, Stonehenge has become a defining presence, guiding the rhythms of life, memory, and belief for countless generations. As time continues, the society that built Stonehenge changes. Bronze tools begin to replace stone, and new cultural influences spread across the region. Trade routes bring materials from distant lands, amber, tin, and pottery with unfamiliar designs. The plain becomes quieter, with fewer gatherings and less construction. Stonehenge remains, but its role subtly shifts. A solitary traveler passes the monument, pausing to observe its towering forms before continuing on a worn path. The wind whistles softly between the stones, creating a low, resonant hum that feels like a reminder of earlier centuries, filled with purpose and activity. Daily life becomes more focused on agriculture and trade, with communities spreading across the countryside. Fields expand, and settlements grow farther apart. The grand gatherings of earlier times become less frequent, replaced by smaller rituals or private acts of remembrance. A woman kneels beside a stone, placing a small offering, perhaps a carved bead or a fragment of pottery, before stepping back and lowering her head. The act is quiet, personal, reflecting a shift from communal ceremonies to individual devotion. The monument absorbs these subtle changes, its presence steady, even as cultural practices evolve around it. The once busy avenues leading to the river Avon become overgrown, their outlines blurred by tall grasses and encroaching shrubs. Pathways fade, and only faint traces remain in the landscape. Stonehenge stands apart, distant from everyday life. A shepherd passes with a flock, the sound of their hooves muffled by soft earth. He glances toward the stones, adjusting his cloak against the cool breeze. For him, the monument is a landmark rather than a destination, a familiar shape on the horizon that guides his movements, but does not shape his rituals. The site enters a quieter phase, defined by observation rather than participation. Weather begins to leave deeper marks on the stones. Lichen spreads across their surfaces, creating patterns of pale green and white. Rainwater runs in slow rivulets down the rough faces, smoothing edges over centuries. A crack forms in one of the uprights, a reminder that even monumental structures are vulnerable to time. During storms, the stones stand firm, their silhouettes stark against flashes of lightning. A lone raven perches atop a lintel, feathers ruffled by the wind. The monument appears unchanged from a distance, but up close, subtle signs of age hint at its gradual transformation. As the Bronze Age progresses, new burial practices emerge, shifting focus away from Stonehenge. Barrows and cairns appear across the landscape, marking individual graves with distinct markers. Stonehenge becomes a silent witness rather than an active participant in funerary traditions. A group of travelers passes by, leading pack animals loaded with goods. One man points toward the distant stones, sharing a story or myth about their origins. The others listen briefly before continuing on their journey. The monument becomes a backdrop to life rather than its center, a relic of earlier times whose purpose is gradually forgotten. By the Iron Age, Stonehenge is largely abandoned as a ceremonial site. Its stones stand, weathered and solitary, surrounded by open fields. The plain supports agriculture and pasture land, with settlements scattered across the region. A farmer pauses while tending to his livestock, leaning on a wooden staff as he gazes toward the monument. The stones cast long shadows in the late afternoon light, their presence both imposing and distant. For many, Stonehenge is a curiosity, an ancient structure whose meaning is unclear, but whose grandeur commands quiet respect. The site's mysteries deepen as knowledge fades. As centuries pass, the stones become part of local folklore. Tales emerge about giants who placed them, or about powerful beings who moved them through magic or song. These stories reflect wonder rather than historical memory, filling the gap left by the absence of written records. A storyteller sits beside a fire, children gathered close, recounting a legend of the stone's creation. The flickering flames cast moving shadows on their faces, and the children listen with wide-eyed fascination. In the distance, Stonehenge stands dark and silent under the night sky, its true history concealed by time and imagination. The Roman era brings new roads and settlements to Britain, but Stonehenge remains on the fringes of their world. Roman soldiers march nearby, their armor clinking softly with each step. A centurion glances at the stones as they pass, intrigued but unaffected. The monument is noted in passing, but not incorporated into Roman culture or architecture. It stands outside their priorities, a relic from a time they do not fully understand. As the soldiers continue their march, dust rises from the road, briefly clouding the view. When the air clears, Stonehenge remains, unmoved, enduring, quietly watching centuries unfold. The medieval period brings fresh interpretations. Monks and scholars speculate about Stonehenge's origins, attributing it to legendary figures or biblical events. The plain becomes more pastoral, with grazing sheep and simple farmsteads dotting the landscape. A shepherd rests beneath a nearby tree, watching clouds drift lazily overhead. His staff lies across his knees, and a small pouch of grain sits beside him. The stones appear distant yet familiar, part of the everyday scenery. Occasional visitors approach the monument, tracing crosses on its surfaces or leaving small tokens, reflecting attempts to weave its ancient presence into contemporary beliefs. By the 12th century, chronicler Geoffrey of Monmouth writes a tale linking Stonehenge to the wizard Merlin, suggesting that the stones were brought from Ireland through magical means. This story captures the imagination of many, reinforcing the belief that the monument holds supernatural origins. A scribe copies the tale onto parchment, pausing occasionally to dip his quill into ink. The room is dim, lit by a single candle that flickers gently. Outside, rain taps softly against the window, adding a rhythmic backdrop to the work. The myth spreads, further distancing Stonehenge from its true forgotten past. During the Renaissance, curiosity about the ancient world grows. Scholars begin to study Stonehenge with renewed interest, measuring its stones and sketching its layout. A traveler stands nearby, holding a parchment map that flutters in the wind. He traces the circle's shape with a gloved finger, attempting to understand its geometry. The air is crisp, and the scent of wildflowers drifts from the surrounding fields. Though their conclusions are speculative, these early studies mark the beginning of a shift, from myth to inquiry, from legend to investigation. The monument begins to attract not just wonder, but analytical thought. In the 17th century, architect Inigo Jones proposes that Stonehenge was built by the Romans, based on its symmetry and apparent design. He strides across the plain, measuring distances between stones with careful steps. A companion records the numbers in a leather-bound journal, occasionally brushing loose hair from his face. The sky is clear, and sunlight highlights the stone's weathered surfaces. Though Jones's theory is incorrect, it reflects the era's growing belief that ancient structures might be understood through observation and logic. Stonehenge begins to shift from a site of mystery to a subject of study. As the Enlightenment unfolds, new ideas about history and human progress take hold. Antiquarians conduct surveys, drawing detailed plans of Stonehenge and surrounding sites. A scholar sets up a small table near the monument, arranging instruments, compasses, rulers, and a brass telescope. He adjusts a lens, observing the stones from different angles. A small notebook lies open beside him, filled with precise sketches and notes. The wind tugs at the pages, threatening to turn them. The scene reflects a growing commitment to understanding the past through evidence, marking another step away from superstition and toward scientific inquiry. During the 19th century, the rise of archaeology as a discipline brings new tools and methods to the study of Stonehenge. Excavations reveal pottery, bones, and signs of ancient construction. Workers carefully unearth artifacts, brushing soil from their surfaces with delicate strokes. A curator wraps each find in cloth, placing it gently into a wooden box. The discoveries suggest that Stonehenge was part of a larger complex, connected to burial and ritual practices. The plain, once quiet and isolated, becomes a focus of academic attention. The stones begin to yield clues, revealing fragments of their long-hidden story. In the early 20th century, restoration efforts begin. Fallen stones are raised, and leaning ones are stabilized to prevent collapse. Engineers use cranes and support structures, their metal frames contrasting sharply with the ancient stones. A worker guides a rope with gloved hands, communicating with colleagues through steady gestures. The air smells of oil and fresh timber. Though some debate the ethics of intervention, the goal is preservation, to ensure that Stonehenge endures for future generations. The monument stands taller and more defined, its iconic silhouette restored against the open sky. As the century progresses, Stonehenge becomes a symbol of national heritage and global fascination. Tourists arrive from around the world, cameras clicking softly as they capture images of the stones. A child holds a brochure, tracing the monument's outline with a fingertip. The air is filled with quiet murmurs, the sound of footsteps on gravel, and the distant hum of cars. Rope barriers guide visitors along designated paths to protect the site from erosion. Though the surroundings have changed, the stones remain central, anchoring modern curiosity to an ancient, enigmatic past that continues to inspire wonder. In the late 20th century, advanced techniques such as radiocarbon dating and isotopic analysis provide more accurate timelines for Stonehenge's construction. Scientists gather samples of bone and wood, placing them into labeled containers. A researcher adjusts a microscope, examining tiny fragments with focused attention. The room hums with quiet equipment, punctuated by soft clicks and measured notes. These studies reveal that the site evolved over more than 1,000 years, reflecting shifting beliefs and practices. The monument becomes understood not as a single event, but as a long-term project shaped by generations of human effort. Further research uncovers evidence that some of the people buried near Stonehenge came from distant regions, including Wales and possibly mainland Europe. Strontium isotope analysis shows that individuals traveled long distances, suggesting that the site held significance far beyond its immediate community. A scientist marks data points on a chart, connecting patterns with thin pencil lines. The information hints at Stonehenge's role as a pilgrimage center or gathering place. The stones may have drawn people together from across vast territories, reflecting a shared cultural or spiritual purpose that transcended regional boundaries. Archaeological excavations along the River Avon reveal ceremonial pathways that may have linked Stonehenge to other ritual sites. Wooden posts and stone alignments suggest processions or symbolic journeys from water to stone. A team of researchers walks the route, their boots pressing softly into the damp soil. One pauses to pick up a shard of pottery, turning it slowly in their hand before placing it in a small bag. The findings support the idea that Stonehenge was part of a larger ceremonial landscape, a network of monuments connected by shared practices and beliefs about life, death, and transition. Modern studies also focus on the astronomical alignment of Stonehenge. Computer simulations show how the monument aligns with the midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset, reinforcing theories about its role in marking seasonal cycles. In an observatory, a researcher adjusts a digital model, watching virtual sunlight move across the stones. The room is dim, illuminated by the soft glow of screens. This connection to the heavens suggests that Stonehenge served as a calendar of sorts, helping ancient communities track time and plan agricultural activities. The monument's design reflects a profound understanding of celestial patterns, Despite these advances, many questions remain unanswered. Why were the blue stones moved such great distances? What specific rituals took place within the circle? How did its meaning change over centuries? A historian stands in the center of the monument, notebook in hand, listening to the wind whistle between the stones. The air is cool, and clouds drift slowly overhead. The unanswered questions create a sense of quiet humility, reminding us that some aspects of the past may remain forever hidden. Stonehenge holds its secrets with patience, revealing only fragments to those who seek understanding. In recent decades, Stonehenge has become a site for cultural events, particularly during the summer solstice. Thousands gather to watch the sunrise, standing shoulder to shoulder in the early morning light. Drums beat softly, voices rise in quiet song, and the first rays of sun pass through the monument's entrance. A woman raises her arms, embracing the warmth as it touches her face. Though the rituals differ from ancient practices, the moment reflects a timeless connection between humanity and the cosmos, a shared acknowledgement of cycles, renewal, and the passage of time. Conservation efforts continue, balancing public access with preservation. Specialists monitor erosion, weathering, and biological growth on the stones. A conservator gently brushes lichen from a surface, careful not to damage the stone beneath. The sound of distant traffic underscores the contrast between ancient and modern worlds. Protective measures aim to safeguard the site for future generations, ensuring that Stonehenge remains a place of wonder and reflection. The monument stands resilient, its stones weathered but strong, a testament to human ingenuity and devotion across millennia. From a distance, Stonehenge at dusk appears timeless. The setting sun casts long shadows across the plain, and the stones glow with a warm amber light. Birds circle overhead before settling into silence. The air cools, and a gentle stillness spreads across the landscape. In this moment, the monument feels suspended between past and present, a bridge connecting ancient intentions with modern curiosity. You stand quietly, absorbing the view. The stones do not speak, yet their presence conveys a story, one of effort, mystery, and enduring human connection. The secrets of Stonehenge remain, inviting contemplation rather than certainty. Let your thoughts drift gently across the plain. Picture the stones rising through the mist, shaped by countless hands over thousands of years. Remember the quiet labor, the long journeys, the rituals at dawn, and the generations who left no written record. Only this circle of stone as their message to time. The wind moves softly through the monument, carrying echoes of distant voices and forgotten footsteps. In this calm, Stonehenge becomes not just a structure, but a symbol of human curiosity and perseverance. Its mysteries invite peace rather than urgency, allowing the mind to settle into quiet reflection. Return now to your own space, where the air is still and familiar. The ancient plain fades, replaced by the comfort of your surroundings. The stones remain in memory, steady, patient, timeless. Let your breathing slow, like the gentle rhythm of wind across open grass. The night is calm, and the world outside moves quietly. Stonehenge continues to stand beneath the stars, holding its secrets with grace. Here you are safe, grounded, and at rest. Allow sleep to come softly, like dawn spreading across the horizon, easing you into deep, peaceful stillness.